The fall of Rome. When our money disappears, will we disappear too? Yes, probably. Let's take a little journey through time. When we talk about the fall of Rome, what comes to mind? Barbarians pounding the gates, legions scattering asking, "Are we defeated?" Or emperors whispering in their marble palaces, "Should we have taken a little poison?" I know, that's how it always looked in the movies. But empires don't collapse suddenly from a single enemy attack. They begin to rot from within, just like an old tree. And the number one killer that accelerates this decay is always money. Rome's fall wasn't just due to invasions or corruption. The real bomb, its money collapsed. And the lessons from this collapse still apply as a harsh slap for every modern economy thinking, "I can play with money and no one can stop me. Are you ready?" For centuries, the backbone of Rome's economy was the silver denarius, a small silver coin. Minted around 211 BC, this coin was nearly pure silver and trusted throughout the empire, and beyond Roman soldiers were paid with it. Merchants said, "Denarius, please." And ordinary people entrusted their savings to this coin. The denarius was not just a coin, it was a statement of trust in metal form. There was a tight economic faith between the empire's power and the coin's value. As long as people believed in Rome, they trusted its money completely. But running an empire was an incredibly expensive hobby. Constantly paying the legions, building roads and aqueducts, funding endless wars. Imagine a massive budget deficit. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was squeezed on all sides, defending borders against Germanic tribes, dealing with the Parthians in the east, and struggling with internal unrest that made everyone say, "What now?" Tax revenues couldn't keep up with military expenses. So, what did the emperors do? Of course, they turned to that old dirty trick from the dusty shelves of history: debasement. Instead of taxing citizens more, which always enrages the people, they reduced the silver content in the denarius. Let's hear the bitter tale of the numbers. 27 BC, 14 AD, Emperor Augustus. The denarius contained about 95% silver, almost pure silver. 211 to 217 AD, Emperor Caracalla. Silver content dropped to around 50%, half trickery. 253 to 268 AD, Emperor Gallienus. Here comes the real disaster. The denarius dropped below 5% silver. Once called real money, the coin became a bronze disc with a silver coating. It was as if they just spread silver on top for color. People could see this with their eyes and feel it in their wallets. Inflation inevitably soared. Prices skyrocketed because money was no longer anchored to real value. A measure of wheat that once cost a single denarius could suddenly cost dozens in one night. This was not some economic theory. It was shattering the lives of ordinary Romans. Soldiers started saying, "Give me a raise or else," to cover rising costs. Merchants stopped accepting devalued coins, preferring barter or payment in gold. Local economies reverted to direct trade because confidence in money was gone. And the more trust eroded, the more emperors kept minting cheap coins, hoping, if we print enough, they'll forget its value. It was a vicious cycle, one repeated like a film reel in countless inflations ever since. The crisis peaked during the 3rd century crisis from 235 to 284 AD. Rome descended into nearly 50 years of chaos. Invasions, plagues, civil wars, and full economic collapse. Emperors rose and fell at dizzying speed, sometimes ruling only a few months before assassination. Behind the political drama lay a financial system that had become dysfunctional. Taxes were demanded with increasingly worthless coins. Farmers preferred abandoning their land rather than paying. Trade networks fractured as if saying, "Connections are over." And the Roman government tried desperately to keep the system afloat, from price controls to mandatory labor, but in vain. Nothing worked. In 301 AD, Emperor Diocletian attempted to stop the bleeding. He issued the edict on maximum prices, fixing the cost of over 1,000 goods and services. From wheat to labor wages, violators faced death. Harsh, right? But the result was a total disaster. When currency itself was worthless, prices could not be controlled by an edict. The black market exploded, and official trade practically said, "We're out." People quickly learned that the law couldn't make a broken coin whole. Finally, the Roman denarius bid farewell. Around 312 AD, Constantine the Great introduced the solidus, a gold coin with consistent purity. It restored some stability and lasted for centuries in the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, proudly saying, "I'm here." But by then, the Western Empire was already fatally weakened. Debasing the denarius had hollowed out Rome's economic core. Armies could no longer be financed, trade networks collapsed, and trust was gone. Rome's fall was not a single event, but a long, slow unraveling, and the collapse of its currency was one of its sharpest threads. It was as if a mighty empire had pulled its own rope with a small silver trick. What does this ancient story mean for us? It means the destruction of money is always the destruction of empires. Rome thought, "I'll trick you," issuing coins that looked the same but had less real value. Modern governments do the same by printing paper money, manipulating interest rates, or eroding debt through inflation. The result is always the same. Civilians pay the price, wealth evaporates, and trust is shattered. Rome learned this harshly, and if we ignore it, believe me, we will too. History didn't stop teaching after Rome. Every major inflation crisis since then has followed the same pattern. Governments debase money to cover costs. Elites protect themselves with real assets, saying, "I'm safe." And ordinary people are left wondering, are pockets empty again? The Roman currency crisis is just the oldest full-scale example, a collapse recipe. Let's jump to the 20th century. The echoes are deafening. After World War I, Germany faced crushing reparations under the Treaty of Versailles. The government printed marks to meet obligations, just like Rome once printed more coins to cover debt. By 1923, hyperinflation tore through the economy like a monster. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark before the war now cost over 200 billion marks by autumn. People hauled salaries home in wheelbarrows. Retirees died of hunger as life savings vanished. And just like in Rome, debtors saw their debts erased by inflation, while those with real assets, land, factories, foreign currency, came out stronger saying, "We profited." Money became meaningless, and economic despair fueled the political extremism that led to Hitler's rise. In the early 2000s, Zimbabwe followed the same path. Facing land seizures, falling production, and rising debt, the government turned to solution printing press. By 2008, inflation reached an insane level, 89.7 sextillion% annually. Prices doubled daily. Stores couldn't even change price tags fast enough. Eventually, Zimbabwe abandoned its currency completely, forcing citizens to trade in US dollars or South African rand. Once again, a government thought it could cheat reality. Once again, people paid the price. But you don't need to look only at these extreme examples. Even in modern advanced economies, the Roman model still lives. Consider the United States. In 1971, President Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, severing the last connection between the currency and a tangible backing. From that moment, the dollar became what economists call fiat money, backed not by gold, but by the trust in government. And just like in Rome, the allure of spending beyond means grew irresistible. Over the next decades, debt exploded, money supply expanded, and inflation became a constant undercurrent. We may not see cash in wheelbarrows, but purchasing power steadily eroded. A dollar in 1971 could buy what costs more than $6 today. Coins look the same, banknotes look the same, but the value inside has been hollowed out. The trick is always the same. Governments hide inflation as growth. Citizens are told higher wages mean prosperity, even if costs rise faster. Debt is presented as investment, even if financing consumption. Even if most own very little, rising stock markets are shown as proof of wealth. Just like Roman emperors saying, "Nothing has changed, everything is under control," they quietly extract value from every coin, banknote, and paycheck. It's as if we're being robbed in plain sight, yet we don't notice. What makes this dangerous today is the global scale. Rome's collapse was an imperial crisis. Weimar's hyperinflation was national. Zimbabwe's was local. But today the entire world operates on fiat currencies, massive debts, and central banks ready to shout, "Print money," at the first sign of crisis. This means the next collapse won't be limited to a single empire or country. It will spread globally, like dominoes. And if history is a guide, those suffering won't be wealthy elites, but millions relying on fragile currencies for salaries, pensions, and savings. There seems to be no plan B to save us. So, as an individual, what should you take from Rome's currency crisis? First, understand that inflation is not an accident, it's a policy. A silent, subtle tax that has been collapsing empires for 2,000 years. Second, recognize that real wealth is not in paper or digital numbers, but in assets that hold value when money loses its worth: land, skills, profitable businesses, tangible resources. Third, never assume stability is permanent. Don't say, "It can't happen here." Romans in the first century would have laughed if told their coins would one day be worthless. Germans in 1913 mocked the idea of wheelbarrows of cash. Zimbabweans in the 1980s trusted their independence to guarantee prosperity. Yet, the same story unfolded. Rome's fall reminds us that when financial systems lose trust, they collapse slowly at first, then suddenly and shockingly. When money ceases to be real, society itself begins to unravel. Contracts fail, trade stops, armies dissolve, and governments lose legitimacy. Barbarians at the gate may finish the job, but the real killer is always inside the treasury. And here's the crucial final word. History does not repeat itself, but if you don't understand it, it crushes you. The Roman currency crisis wasn't just about bad emperors or greedy elites. It was about the fragility of money when power is abused, and that fragility never went away.